Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing another review and demo for you guys on a foundation, and this is on the YSL All Hours Foundation. It just looks like this. I did get mine on Sephora. It does have 22 colors available on Sephora, and this is, I believe, $58. So basically what I'm going to do, so you guys, if you just basically wanted to see how it applies, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the demo. I apply one side with a sponge. I just use my Eco Tool sponge right here, and then I apply the other side with a brush, and I just used the It Cosmetics brush, the Airbrush Complexion Perfection brush, which just looks like this on this side. My face was already primed, so yeah, let's just go ahead and get into the demo. Alright guys, so I'm going to talk you guys through this demo because there's a couple of things that I want to mention. First off, I don't know if you can see it. I'm looking over in the viewfinder and on the monitor, and it definitely looks like it's washed it out a little bit, but I have a ton of breakouts. It's all here on my forehead, on the sides of my temples, right here and everything, and I think it's this foundation that's breaking me out. So I want to talk a little bit about the primers I've tried it with, because there's only one primer in here that I thought might also be attributing to this, but for the most part I think it's the foundation, because when I first tried this out I did use it with my Stila primer and my Smashbox primer, which is my holy grail. I've used this for years and it's just always worked for me. As well as the Lorac one, because I thought, like I said, since it is getting a little bit colder, that's something not so incredibly matte. Like this is more like pore filling. I like this as well, and I use it a lot. But I did try it with 3 others, which I'm just going to mention: the Makeup Forever and the Too Faced one, which neither one of these has broken me out, but this one does make my skin a little bit red. But this Bare Minerals one, I have been using with it the last 2 days, and I think that this has kind of made it even worse. This is the Bare Minerals Blemish Remedy Mattifying Prep Gel. So I don't know, but this foundation does not like my skin, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this half with a sponge, and then I'm going to apply the other half of my face with the It Cosmetics, or It brushes for Ulta. This is the Airbrush Complexion brush, and I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys the coverage, and then I'm going to take it off because, like I said, I'll talk about all that in the demo, but I definitely think it's what has really irritated and broke my skin out, because my skin has not broken out like this, and I couldn't tell you guys when. I mean, usually I get some breakouts like down around here, but this is like everywhere, all over the side of my face and on my forehead. Again, the light kind of washes it out, so I do apologize. But the foundation comes in a box like this. I got the shade B30 Almond, which was light with neutral undertones. I had the shade Fair to Light with neutral undertones, but it was way too light. This does get incredibly orange really quick, which you guys will probably see. Again, I'll show you guys that in the review. And I do have a cold, so that's why I'm sounding kind of hoarse. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and just pump a couple of pumps of this out on my hand. This was just a pump and a half. And I'm just going to go ahead and apply it. And again, I have already primed my face. Again, we'll do this half with a sponge, and then I'll do the other half with a brush. So that is just one layer with the sponge. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys one layer with the brush, and then I'm just going to show you guys how it builds up with the sponge. Alright guys, so I have zoomed you in, and I didn't drag it too far down my neck because I wanted to be able to pull this down and see if you guys can see how orange it is. I know, like I said, looking over here, I feel like it doesn't look that orange, but in person it's very orange. but it doesn't look like that when you first apply it. I like the undertone. It was really nice and neutral, but again, it just gets orange super quickly. I think it's a lot worse than the Urban Decay foundation. That one I feel like I can get away with, but all right, so right here in this area, like I said, as you guys seen, I did build it up in the areas that I needed it, but you can still see the acne pretty well poking through. And then I do have just a little bit of redness going on right here, which I feel like it didn't cover it the best. And then again, the acne here and just on my forehead, I feel like it's so hard to see, but right here as well, and then in this whole entire area, it just didn't cover my acne the best on the second layer either, but I feel like going in with a third layer does make it really heavy. But again, if you guys can see like the difference in color, it's quite a bit of difference, but yeah, I hope zooming in you guys could tell a little bit better like how it looks and stuff. So yeah, let's just go ahead and get back to the review. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that demo. I just want to mention really quick, I don't have the foundation on right now. I have the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation. I'll talk a little bit about why I don't have that foundation on here. Usually I will keep it on so you guys can see with the rest of the makeup applied, but my skin doesn't really like that All Hours foundation. So anyways, I'm going to start with the packaging. So this is the packaging right now. It's a really nice frosted glass, and then you have a really nice pump. I haven't had any issues with it or anything. The first thing I want to mention though is that this is $58 and you don't even get 1 fluid ounce, you get just 0.84 ounces, so you don't even get a full ounce of product, and again, that is quite expensive. I do have the shade B30 Almond, which is light with a neutral undertone. It does come in 22 shades right here on Sephora. I did have B20 Ivory, which was fair to light with a neutral undertone, but that was too light for me, so I did have to take it back, and then I ordered this one, which when I initially applied this one, it does match me, but I'll talk a little bit about how it changes color and stuff. I do just like to read the description of the products in case you guys just kind of want to know a little bit about it, and then I just like to talk about the claims and tell you guys how I feel about them. So it does say that this is supposed to be full coverage. It's supposed to work for normal, combination, and oily skin types, and it does have a matte finish. It says what it is. A new 24 hours full coverage foundation that instantly blurs pores and fine lines and provides uninterrupted, flawless wear that looks and feels just applied all day. All Hours 24-hour advanced formula won't cake, dry, flake, or fade. Transfer-proof, oil-free, and non-pore clogging, this foundation stands up to the makeup meltdowns by combining move with you flexible pigments and skin-loving ingredients for better flawless coverage and skin that feels fresh and comfortable from day to night. The blurring formula instantly conceals and erases imperfection, pores, dullness, and unevenness. Skin looks flawless for up to 24 hours thanks to the highest concentration of ultra-fine, oil-absorbing pigments that cover and smooth perfectly, yet resist fading, heat, humidity, dryness, and touch. The formula is also infused with a black tea antioxidant complex for additional skincare that combats the signs of dullness and fatigue while protecting skin from pollution. The All Hours foundation is made in France with the finest pigments and ingredients that respect and care for the skin. So basically it does have a lot of claims in here, and I do have notes right here like I always do with all my foundations. Usually I like to try a foundation out for at least 2 weeks, but I've only been trying this one out for about a week, and that's just because I honestly feel like my skin can't handle it anymore. I'm just going to go and first talk about the coverage. Now, to me, this is not full coverage. I talk about that in the demo. I have a ton of breakouts right now. I even think the Laura Mercier foundation that I have right here is more full coverage than this All Hours one. Even building this one up, I could still see a lot of like the actual pigments of my breakouts and stuff like that poking through, whereas with the Laura Mercier one, I gotta be honest, I mean, I can see that I've got like a pimple there, but I can't see any colors coming through or anything like that, and I think that the coverage is a lot better on the Laura Mercier one. I would say that yes, if you don't have breakouts and things to cover, you're going to consider this full coverage. But I think if you're someone who has breakouts and stuff, I would not consider this full coverage. The next things it said is it good for normal, combination, and oily skin. So I have oily skin, but it is kind of cold here in Virginia. I work outside in the wind. Sometimes these, like especially this time of the year, my skin can get a little bit more on the dry side, but not like super dry or anything like that. Like I still get pretty oily like in my T-zone and stuff like that. But with this foundation, like usually with most foundations, even if they don't last on my skin, I get oily like here on my forehead, right here and on my chin. But with this one, I got oily on my entire forehead, right here on the sides of my temples, which I think is really weird. And like my whole face looked oily, which I've never had that happen before with a foundation. And that was only with 4 hours of wear. By the hour, let's see, but yeah, by the hour, about 6.5, on almost every single day except for one day when I was working outside. I did get about 7 hours of wear out of this one, but it just, I mean, it just looks so oily, and like, I feel like usually it doesn't bother me, but this really bothered me. Like, I felt like I looked super greasy, and it just, I mean, it didn't look like that glowiness either. I mean, it was just like pure oil kind of coming through. So I don't really agree that this works very well with oily skin. Again, I know that everyone has different skin. You know, I've seen plenty of people with oily skin like this foundation, but it just doesn't hold up on my oily skin. Now, it does say the finish is matte. I think it's more of a natural matte finish. I don't think it's like a flat matte finish, which I do think when you first apply it, I think it looks really pretty. I think it's very flattering. But again, I wouldn't consider this like a very like matte foundation at all. I definitely would say it's more of like a natural matte finish. So it does say that this instantly blurs pores and fine lines. Now, I do agree that this does not sink into my lines right here or in these lines on my forehead, especially if I don't drink enough water. These lines on my forehead will definitely be like a little more prominent, but this one doesn't sink into my like forehead wrinkles or the fine lines, so I definitely agree with that. I also agree with it not sinking into your pores because I have tried this with and without a primer, and even without a pore filling primer. I like the Perfection one from Lorac. I still think that this does glide right over top of those, so again, I do agree with those claims right there. So what's next here? So it says that this won't cake, dry, flake, or fade. I don't think that it got dry, and I don't think that it flaked, but I do definitely feel like it does look a little bit cakey, especially if you build it up onto the third layer. So I just got to where I was doing 2 layers, but 3 layers, I definitely feel like you can tell I have makeup on. It almost reminds me of like when I would wear the Urban Decay one. Like, that one's very full coverage, but like with 1 layer of that, you know, it can look a little bit heavy. I feel like if you don't use a sponge, but 3 layers of this kind of looks like that if you guys have ever tried the Urban Decay one. But again, at least on my skin, it can get a little cakey, especially around my nose and on my upper lip right here. Also, let's see. It says that it's transfer proof, so I don't agree with that either. When you first apply it, I think it is a little bit tacky, so you do got to give it a second to dry down. I do like setting mine with the powder because I noticed when I did have a little bit of trouble blending my bronzer, so I definitely do like to set this one. That's just, again, what worked best for me. But as the day goes on and I start getting oily, if I touch my face like with my fingers, or I take a tissue or a blotting sheet, there's a ton of foundation that comes off, and that area looks like broken up and really like cakey anywhere I blot. And usually with most of my foundations, I can blot and I don't have that issue. This is one of those foundations that if I blot with them, it looks worse than if I had just left the oil on my face. It does say that it conceals and erases imperfections, so I definitely, again, don't think that it conceals like breakouts and stuff like that. You know, I don't have too many issues with like my skin being red or anything like that, but the areas around my breakouts, I could still see the actual color of them and stuff like that. So I don't completely agree with that. And I definitely do not think that this lasts up for 24 hours at all. Usually most foundations, even if they don't, you know, say that they're matte, they will last me at least 6 hours before a little bit of oil starts coming through. But by hour 4, I was just so greasy, and then by hour 6, it's like my skin felt really, really nasty, and I didn't like it at all. And it does say that it does have oil absorbing pigments that cover, so I don't know, I don't agree with it like being, you know, very long lasting on my oily skin. But my biggest issue with this foundation is the fact that even with primers, I feel like I can't get it to last any longer. And usually with most foundations, if I use them without a primer, I'm someone that primer really helps me. If I use a mattifying primer, I can get at least 2 more hours, I feel like, or 3 more hours of wear out of a foundation. Whereas this, I couldn't tell a difference. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't need a primer with it because it didn't really, you know, help with like the longevity of it. But I also don't think that you needed a pore filling primer because I do agree that it did go over your pores really nicely. However, this foundation breaks me out so incredibly bad. Like, if you guys seen in that demo, especially down around here and all over my forehead, my face has not been broken out this bad in a long time. I haven't changed anything in my skincare routine. I'm using the same primers, and this is the only thing that I have introduced into my skin. So this is the only product that I can see that's doing it to me. And when I do first apply this, I don't feel like a tingling sensation or anything like that, or a burning sensation, but I definitely kind of feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but when I apply it, I definitely feel like my skin doesn't like it, if that makes sense. But this is one of those two that like I haven't had like any, you know, those breakouts that get like underneath the skin and like you can't see them but you press on them and they're like, they hurt. I haven't had those in probably like years, but ever since I started using that, I started getting these again. I started getting them like here around my temples, down here, and then a couple right in the center of my forehead. And I just, you know, this is the only thing that I've used, and it's like it's getting worse the longer I use this product. So that's why I decided to go ahead and do my review on it, because I do not want to continue to use this, because I'd hate to see what my skin looks like in another week. Like I said, I'm using the Laura Mercier one, so if my skin clears up in about 2 weeks or something, I'll definitely know 100% for sure that it was this, but I still think that it's this already, because again, like I said, it's the only thing that I've, you know, used on my skin. So I definitely would stay away from this product if you have sensitive skin, because it does have a fragrance. Maybe that's it. But even my Laura Mercier one and my Lancome foundation has a scent, and it doesn't break me out or irritate my skin like this does. There's just something in it that my skin just doesn't like. So I'm going to say that this one is a pass for me. I hate that I didn't like it, because I see so many people love it. But yeah, I feel like this was a really long review, but I just want to make sure that I hit all the points, because it's an expensive foundation. You don't get one fluid ounce. So I definitely feel like if you have a Sephora that carries this brand, maybe go get a sample, try it, see how your skin works with it before you do splurge and make the purchase, because again, it is quite expensive. So sorry guys, my camera cut off again. But the last thing that I want to mention about this foundation is the color. So I have the shade B30 Almond, and I'm going to go ahead and just swatch one for you guys and let it set on my hand for a second, and then I'm going to swatch the actual, then I'm going to swatch a new shade. So when I first apply this, I like the shade. It's a nice neutral undertone. I think it looks really nice, but within a couple of seconds, it does start to darken and get orange, just like this one is. Again, I'm going to swatch right underneath so you can see. So again, I'm just going to pump out just a little bit. Like I said, just a new swatch. And can you guys see the actual, yeah, I think you guys can see on camera the actual difference. And once it does get this orange, it doesn't get worse throughout the day, but it like I said, it does still like get really, really orange and kind of make me look like an Oompa Loompa, I feel like. But as you guys can see now, this color is slowly starting to get darker, but it doesn't get darker throughout the day, but it definitely does get pretty dang orange. So again, this would be a great one that you might want to swatch several different colors and see which one works for you. But for me, this foundation just has, I feel like, a lot of problems. I feel like I can't get it to work, and I just feel like if you're someone who's been wanting to try this out, if you have a Sephora, definitely before you make the splurge on this product, because again, you know, it's $58, you don't get one fluid ounce. Go swatch it or pick up some samples and try it and see how it's going to work with your skin. But for me, I think it would pass. There's so many other drugstore options that I think that are even better than this foundation, and they cost so much less. So yeah, if you guys have any other questions or anything, or I didn't answer something you guys were curious about this foundation, just let me know down below and I'll make sure to answer them. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.